guys are in for a treat tonight. It is Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid. And look who I got. One, Drake Evans, my very special guest, Drake Evans. Thank you for joining us tonight, baby.
Oh, you're welcome, Don. Thanks for having me.
This is an absolute pleasure for me because I'm familiar with Drake Evans in the ring. Man, are you a terror. But I am not familiar with Drake Evans outside the ring. And that's what we like to do with Stirring the Pot, is kind of pull back the curtain a little bit of the entertainment value, if you will, of wrestling. And I like to give the fans in our local area a chance to be able to be introduced to the Drake Evans. If that's even your real name, even if you don't want to disclose that, that's fine. We can keep it Drake Evans. But we like to get behind the scenes and see who Drake Evans kind of is if you give us the chance to do so, my friend.
Well, this is your opportunity. Not many people get this opportunity. And to be honest with you, there's pretty much no difference between Drake Evans, the performer, and Drake Evans, the person sitting here talking to you. Just turned up a little bit. That's it.
Well, that's what I'm to understand, because I talk a lot about character, evolution of a package that it takes in wrestling. There's so many things that makes wrestling happen. Your character, how long have you been in? First, I'd love to start because I don't know the tidbits about one Drake Evans. How long have you been in the business? Because you look pretty polished in that ring.
I was going into my 20th year this year. My anniversary is September 16th. I've had more matches than I can count. So, I mean, when you do it for as long as I've done it, it becomes second nature. Like the butterflies sometimes are there, but they go away and I can just go out there and I just do my thing. I mean, so to answer that, yeah, 20 years just about. And don't see any signs of stopping.
Really? No signs of stopping for Drake Evans? That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, once it's in your blood, there's times where I sit there and I say, hey, is this worth it anymore? I've had 2 neck fusion surgeries, the most recent one being in November of 2018, where most of the people from Test of Strength No, I disappeared for a while, and that's the reason why. When I came back last June, that was fresh off of being released by the doctor to go back into performing.
So at this point, how is the neck feeling and all of that?
I mean, as long as I stay out of the ring with Nathaniel Carr, I mean, my neck will be fine. Sorry, Carr. I mean, I just have to. If I didn't pick on him, he'd think that I didn't like him, which, I mean, it's sometimes hard to tell if I actually do or not. But, the neck holding up, I mean, it's the second one. The second one was the worst surgery because they had to take out the first one. So it took a little bit longer to heal. I got a 3 or 5 millimeter plate in my neck holding the discs together. But it's just something you learn to work around and a little more careful. I don't do stupid stuff in the ring. Very straightforward, as you can see. I don't have to do the crap that I did when I was younger. I mean, I did some crazy stuff when I was younger, like taking power bombs on floors and stuff like that. You learn over the years that it just ain't worth it in the long run. And that was before I got cultured and learning how to work, how to be more of a wrestler than somebody who's going out to pop the boys or, get that quick pop from the fans. I could do that with an armbar. It took 2 years to get that down. And that was really early on in my career. I did some really stupid shit.
You talk about that's a kind of a great topic right there, because you are definitely a mat wrestler. You're old school. Your style is, brute force. You carry your stature in, and you beat people up. That's your gig. Um, Now, you talk about your younger years. Did you do like some of the flying stuff? Was that ever part of your repertoire?
Yeah, it really had to be, because when I first broke into the wrestling industry, I was 170 pounds. And that's almost to be expected nature of the business. Is if you're that small, you better fly, because it's a little hard to go in the ring with somebody who's 225, 230 pounds and throw them around. So yeah, I mean, at one point in time, my finishing move was a corkscrew plancha. I used to do, and I still can do, suicide dives and stuff like that. It just really doesn't make much sense for somebody of my size to be doing that. I mean,
Smart wrestling, they call that, yes?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like I could do a moonsault, even at the weight that I'm at right now. But why? Why am I going to do that? It makes no logical sense. Plus, one screw up, somebody's not positioned the right way, foot slips off the rope. Don't need any more neck surgeries. That's not doing that. So I just keep it to the bare essentials of wrestling. I have always been a mat wrestler. When I was younger, I was in amateur pee-wee wrestling. And I always liked the styles of Dean Malenko. Actually, most people who know me know that I was almost trained by Dean Malenko. So, I I kind of took a lot from Dean, a lot from Chris Benoit, Bret Hart. I take a lot of their style and just make it my own.
It only takes a little bit of a slip up to make a major injury happen. So I appreciate using that logic for, well, why do I have to, and for everybody's safety, your opponents, yourself. I mean, again, smart wrestling. We have to do that. Not we, because God forbid, Kincaid would never get in the fucking ring ever. Okay. Mr. Evans, your character, again, it's brutish. You come out like you're hired, like you're a hired gun all the time. You've got some new snazzy gear that I've seen you come out with. You're looking pretty cool. Is it an evolution of your character, or does it refresh you just to get some nice new gear like that?
Yeah, I mean, I wore the pink and black for many years, and a lot of people attribute that to me. And then a lot of people thought, oh, well, he's doing it because he's a Bret Hart fan. And that actually is not the real reason why I did the pink and black. So nobody was wearing pink and black. Bret had already long since retired, and I'm like, well, I need to stand out. And that's the biggest part of our business, is to stand out. You have to make yourself look different than everybody else. When I came into the business, everybody's wearing black and red. I hate those two colors. Why Survival Championship Wrestling's colors are those colors? I mean, it just kind of happened that way. But those two colors on a performer, that's not something I ever really wanted to do. So I said, earlier in my career, I did a lot of silver. And depending on whether I was babyface or heel, not that you can tell much of a difference between Drake Evans as a babyface or a heel, because honestly, Drake Evans as a babyface is a heel, and it just worked that way. I tend to get more cheers as a heel than I do as a babyface, and no matter how hard I try, it's just the way that people like rebellion. But I did silver, I did black and white. I, was always a stickler for gear. I had yellow. I had turquoise. And then I was like, I ordered, I got those green and black tights that I was wearing a test of strength for a little bit there. And then, when I was out with the neck surgery, I got the blue and black ones. And I was like, I think it's just time for a change. And, it's always good to have extra gear, and I do everything custom. Everything that I wear is custom, from the vest down to the tights. My boots are custom, you know, and costs a lot of money, but
That
it's money. It's an investment that's worth standing out. You know, people see the ice blue and they're like, huh, nobody else is wearing that color blue. And they see the dragon designs, you know, there's a story behind that too. Drake in Japanese, you know, Draco, it's dragon. It all comes back to dragon. Um, so I've kind of adopted the whole dragon thing over the years. Um, not necessarily at first. When I first broke in, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I mean, I just kind of gravitated to what looked cool. You know, my entrance music was whatever was cool at the time. You know, it's the early 2000s here. It was right at the turn of the new decade that I started wrestling. You know, so Linkin Park was popular, Trapped was popular. So I was like, oh, these songs sound cool. And it really wasn't until, you know, actually I started using the trap song that I actually started putting two and two together to make it part of my character. And as I went along, I was like, there was a phase where I was wearing jean shorts and a freaking Gold's Gym shirt because I put on so much weight from the time that I was had started until, you know, I took a break from wrestling because my best friend and my tag team partner had passed away in 2003. And I took like 6 months off because that was my traveling partner. And, you know, when shit like that happens, it really messes with your head, especially when you're one of the last people that talk to them. And, you know, when I came back, I didn't have gear that fit me. So, Gene, I mean, I still had wrestling boots and knee pads and stuff like that, but I took more of like a Raven-esque look on, which is frowned upon these days, but you know, I still went out and produced great matches. But you know, and now, you know, gear is everything. You know, would I take that back? No, I wouldn't, because it was a part of me. It was a part of my career. It was something that I did. And then, you know, now I'm back to my traditional professional wrestling look. And, you know, that's just, you know, how that all came about as far as my gear goes. But yeah, I mean, it's something different.
I find that, like you said, you have to stand out, and you need, again, we talk about the package of wrestling. You need the look, you need the mic skills, you need the presence, you need the charisma, you need to be able to engage with the fans, you need to have ring ability. I mean, it takes so much to have that package. You come out, and even when you get on the mic, you seem very comfortable doing promos, and stuff like that. Has it always come naturally for promos, or is that something you worked on?
It's like, I mean, it was pushed when I went to wrestling school, but it was always something that, you know, nobody ever gave me the opportunity at, but I knew that I could do. And then when I was given the opportunity, it flows naturally. It's like, I don't fear being in front of a crowd. I don't like being around a lot of people. It's weird. Like, you will rarely ever see me at like an intermission or anything like that, because I just don't like being around a lot of people. And it's, you know, from growing up, I'm the second youngest of 5 children, and you know, I was always around them. It was always a small group of people, or my parents. You know, it was always a small group of people. Even when I went to school, I didn't like being around a lot of people. But you throw a microphone in my hand and put me out inside of a wrestling ring, that completely goes away. It took some time to get used to, you know, going out, and then when you get people, I have had promoters come up to me with scripts and stuff like that and said, "Here, read this," and I was like, I could barely remember my name. I remember, you know, that's like, you know, normally before I go out into the ring to wrestle, it's like, see you out there, kid. You know, I don't do well with scripts, even in some of the documentaries that I've put through, that they weren't scripted or anything like that. I kind of just wing it. You know, if it's not coming from the heart, then I think the last promo I cut at Test of Strength, the only thing that came to mind was the one thing that should come to every wrestler's mind was, what's next for Drake Evans? Well, the one thing that's next for Drake Evans is gold. You know, that's it. No more needs to be said. And then, sometimes ring announcers and interviewers get confused and like, oh, so you're laying down a challenge. No, it's not exactly laying down a challenge. I'm just stating what's on my mind. From here, if you ain't in this business to be a champion, then you don't belong in this business. I have like the people who get into the business and say, oh, well, I don't want to go to the WWE. I don't want to go to AEW. I don't want to go to Ring of Honor. I'm comfortable with the indies. Well, that's what you call somebody who, and it's perfectly fine because I know a lot of people like that. But those are the people who don't. It's a hobby for them.
There's a plateau that doesn't get broken.
Right. To me, I'm 38 years old. Been in this business 20 years. And I still have goals. I'd love that contract, and I've been close. Like I've been in touch with people in the past, like TNA back in 2009, and somehow, the guy that I was talking to ends up getting fired, but that's just how it happens in our business. And then TNA took that turn with Hulk Hogan, and they started hiring Hogan's friends, and they didn't really bring in too many independent workers. And I've had my connections with WWE in the past, and stuff happens. You got to be in the right place at the right time. They have to have the right character. It's just the way it is. I have friends that are there. I have a friend that's in NXT right now, Bobby Fish, and Luke Harper, Brody Lee just debuted in AEW.
Yeah.
I have a picture of Brody Lee when he was Huber Boy 2, when I was wrestling with him back in 2002. No beard, short hair. But the guy that helped train me helped him out as well earlier on in his career. And, someday it might happen. Someday it might not happen. But you never know.
I don't think at the top when I asked you how long you've been wrestling, I don't think your trainer was mentioned. Who were you trained by?
Initially, I was trained by a guy by the name of Jeff Starr. He has done stuff for WWE, enhancement stuff. He taught me the basics in wrestling. Him and I are pretty close in age, but he's very talented. That was the more meat and potatoes of the wrestling industry that I learned. The guy who taught me how to be a wrestler, how to perform, and how to not do stupid shit was a guy named Chip Stetson. Okay. Chip's been around forever. He actually, I don't know if you got a chance to meet him at the Survival Championship Wrestling show. He was there. He was agenting the locker room. Like he was the agent for Survival Championship Wrestling that night. Short, bald guy. He taught me a lot about the wrestling business. Getting to work with him, and it's funny how things come full circle because I worked with him a lot back in 2002, and then we fast forward to like 2014, and I was in a feud with him. My major comeback from my first neck surgery was against him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we ended up finishing the feud in a steel cage in November of 2014, which turned into a which my mother at that, she wasn't happy about that. But,
Oh, man. I can't even imagine how long we could probably sit here for days and days with some of the stories that Drake Evan has in his pocket, boy. Holy cow. You spoke about, and now I'll bring it up. I was going to kind of maybe bring it up a little bit later, but you did speak of Survival Championship Wrestling. You are the owner? Are you the only owner of Survival? What's going on with that?
The owner, I'm the vice president of talent operations. Basically, I book the talent. I make the matches. The owner is a separate promoter who really doesn't have a lot to do with wrestling. But I'm kind of the horse that's leading the wagon because I have experience with it. I am and was co-owner of In Your Face Wrestling, which went defunct in 2016. We get into that. That story could turn into a shoot story, which would be probably fucking hilarious. But I'd probably somehow end up getting sued again because my business partner is like the world's biggest piece of shit. Couldn't tell the truth if it smacked him in the face. And I would love to smack him in the face, but I'd probably feel bad afterwards. Not because of slapping him in the face, but the fact that I could possibly break my hand. So, and he's not worth that piece of crap's not worth it. But that we could save that for another day. Maybe someday I'll just get so bitter that we'll just do a complete shoot on In Your Face Wrestling. You know, I took a fledgling company drawing 120 fucking people, and when I took the book over and was actually producing shows, and that company started the very first show that I did when I wrote that freaking for that company. First show we drew 265 people, up from like 125. Biggest draw that we did with that company, it was the first time the company ever made any money, was under my writing ability, and that was in 2016. And yeah, we booked multiple names for the show, but you know, the fans wanted to see the stories, and somehow the idiot that I was working with just see if there could be one big fuck up in the world that's the master of fuck ups, it's him. Simple as that. I did all the fucking training for that company. Never asked for a damn dime. Never asked for a dime. And you know, it's like I graduated like 20 fucking people for that goddamn place. And you know, the thanks that I get's a lawsuit that he didn't even fucking win.
Wow, you seem to have a story and a half to tell about that whole mess. And if you want, you can always reach out to me anytime. My camera is ready and waiting for. I've got you.
Oh, we'll definitely do that, because that could be a 2-hour interview in itself.
Survival Chain, you talk about storylines. We need fans. We need storylines to get us invested into the characters. We need that because it's just two guys wrestling. That match is done. Two more guys that's done. Two ladies get in. They're done. Without the stories, what the hell are we doing there? We're just watching guys do whatever they want to do, you know?
That's it. And I know some places and some people, you know, highly respectable people will say, oh, well, storylines ain't necessary in wrestling, or independent wrestling. Let me scale that back. Independent wrestling. That's untrue. I've noticed in different regions that I go to, and I've wrestled down south. I've wrestled in the Midwest. I've wrestled in Pennsylvania, New York. New York is very story oriented because this is pretty much the home of WWE. WWE has been pushing storylines for many, 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 many years, and that's what these fans are used to. Where the Southern style of wrestling, yes, they have storylines, but it's more of a brawler mentality. I wrestled a show down there. We had elaborate spots and stuff planned out for the evening, and then the match got cut from, it was a 6-man tag match too, from 10 minutes to 8 minutes, and then the co-booker came up to me. He's like, "Oh, these guys got 5 minutes," and I was like, "What? 5 minutes for a 6-man tag match?" So all of our elaborate stuff that we had planned that went out the window. And I looked at the guys. I'm like, here's what we do. Yada, 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 yada. Went out there, did the opening spot, had the crowd chanting, "This is awesome," within the first 2 minutes. Why? Because I knew what the Southern style of wrestling was like. Because being a student of the game, knowing the different areas to watch, you know, I can cite you just about anything from wrestling, from the first world heavyweight champion, the city he won it in, the day, or not exactly the day, but the date. And, you know, I studied this business from 1905 to whenever. You know, I've researched stuff on Abraham Lincoln, who in reality was a professional wrestler in the carnivals. And that's just, you know, that you learn to develop over the years. Okay, this is what this crowd wants to see. This is what this crowd to say. The Test of Strength crowd, they like the old school beatings. You know, I can go out there and get a reaction by just beating down on somebody. The New York crowd, they want that storytelling. And they like the comedy thrown in. My match with Slick Wagner Brown at Survival Championship Wrestling, you know, I grabbed him into the nerve hold. And, you know, I yelled out psychology, and the crowd thought it was funny. Yeah. They're not a stupid crowd. They're not stupid. New York is a very smart crowd, much like the ECW fans. You know, a lot of people term them smart marks. They know what's going on. But if you bring them into the ring without actually bringing them into the ring, something like that will get them to react. And you got to understand that. And I'm sure there's probably assholes that will see this and be like, he just likes exposing the business, which is the business has been exposed for how long, you know. I don't expose it. My simple response is pretty much to ignore anybody who asks. But, you know, in retrospect, that's what our crowds are like. You got to know your crowd. I don't go into the ring with 30,000 different things that I want to do. I go into the ring with an outline and knowing what I can do if that outline gets screwed up. You know, it's simple. Not so much when I was younger, but it got easier over time.
I find that with more than 5 years experience, anybody that has that, they always say, dude, you should have seen me when I started. What the fuck was I doing?
I first started, like I said, I was 175 pounds and doing stupid shit. Do I regret? I regret a lot of the different shit that I took a Michinoku driver on a parquet floor. And yeah, and it's a wonder why my fucking back kills me all the time. You know, and that's just the way. But it's stupid shit like that, you know, I look back at now and be like, oh, well, this is why I don't do it no more. Yeah. I think the last time I bumped on the floor was the first match I had with Bobby Ocean. And that wasn't any, you know, it was something that needed to be only because the ring broke and we had to wrestle on the floor. So it's kind of unavoidable to bump on the floor. You just have to. And, you know, but I was able to control it. When you're up in the air in a Michinoku driver, it's a little harder to control. You can anticipate the fall, but it hurts.
Oh, yeah. You've mentioned Test of Strength and some of the personalities from it, and I'm going to get back to Survival. Boy, am I getting back to that. You've mentioned a couple of the guys, Slick Wagner being the proprietor of one Test of Strength. And, man, we have some mother effing fun at Test of Strength shows, may it be the training days or now for the past year or so, they've done these road shows where we, the fans, we go to their pay-per-views is what we call them now. And it's a lot of fun. And that's where I mostly have seen you perform and maybe booed you. I apologize right now. But when, you know, you get back out there, I'm booing you more.
Yeah, don't apologize for that. Boo me. Boo me.
Again, you come out. Something that I talk about is the signals to the fans. You come out, and like you said, there's not much difference with Drake Evans specifically, heel or face, but you're going to give us the signals once you walk through those curtains. You're going to tell us what we're supposed to do. Are we going to boo you? Are we supposed to? You always let us know what's up. So those signals and the way you carry yourself, we the fans, without that, we don't know what to fucking do. So we appreciate that, you know?
Right. And you know, and it's a lost art. And a lot of times, especially newer people, they don't know what to do when they're coming out. You know, my first wrestling match, I beelined for the friggin' ring. I right to the ring. You know, I just wanted to get it done and over with, just to get it out of the way. And then as time goes on, you know, I don't like trying to make people like me because it's easier to make people hate me. People tend to gravitate, like I said, more towards me because people like rebellion. I'll say Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was never a babyface. Like he always was a heel, and he like a heel. And if you go back into the 80s and stuff, like Hulk Hogan never really wrestled like a babyface. He was raking people's eyes and scratching their backs and stuff like that. And,
all the time.
People, people don't care, and you're told in wrestling school you got to do things one way. And I'm guilty of it because I ran a wrestling school. And, but you learn over the years that you can create your own niche in wrestling. And that's what I've done over the last 20 years. I don't pander. You'll never, even as a babyface, you'll never see me sit there and clap my hands. When I was younger, you did, because that's what I was told to do. You either like me or you don't. That's pretty much the way that I go. Even as a heel now, like you said, I come out more as like a hired gun, which is basically a test of strength. That's pretty much what I've been used as, which is fine, and it works for my character. There's not much of a character there because that character is me. Drake Evans is an extension of who I am in real life. Now, just imagine my real job. I drive school bus. So imagine what the kids go through.
Oh my God. The hired gun. I have to. And I would hate myself if I didn't touch upon this topic. The hired gun Drake Evans. He came out Lone Survivor 2 on one of the grandest stages of TOS has had. It was, again, Lone Survivor 2, Northampton at the Deuce. You come out as a hired gun. You're with Cold Cash. You're with TJ Howell. You're with Ryan Frost and that damn Caddy Tucker. Later on, Mr. Caddy Tucker would make an appearance, a vital appearance, might I add. And the point I'm trying to make is you helped those guys tear the face off of my man. All hail El Jabroni. What the hell do you think you're doing?
Hey, so the money. Somebody offers you money to do something, you do it. Unfortunately for Jabroni, he was on the receiving end. And I got a bone to pick with that Caddy Tucker guy. Because just because I was paid by Howell Enterprises doesn't mean that I was happy that he cost us the match.
Yes.
Believe me, I almost threw him back into the ring after I think Big Bear tore his shirt off. It crossed my mind.
Sure.
Because if there's one thing more important than money, it's respect. And it's honor, and it's winning. And that pissed me off more than anything when I turned around and I seen that little skinny punk with his kendo stick that got us disqualified, which I'm pretty sure TJ wasn't too happy about. And we'll get into his head later because that was a little distracting too. He looked like a penis, okay? He looked like a walking penis. Thank you for the money, but I mean, let's call a spade here. It was odd. It was right.
It shocked every single one of us at the Deuce. Are you shitting me? Oh my God.
It shocked me. I didn't know about it. So when I turned around and I was like, I actually walked up to him and I whispered into his ear and I was like, dude, you look like a penis. and that's on my mother's soul. I legitimately walked up to him and whispered that into his ear.
That is funny stuff. So the reasoning is money, obviously. As TJ Howell II has it's seeming like TJ Howell II has an endless, and I do mean an endless amount of money. It just comes out of everywhere. And the GM Alex Rojas, he's kind of reaping the benefits of his relationship with Tessa Strength and the Howell Enterprises, if you will. Again, Tessa Strength, I've seen you most at, but I want to get back to the Survival Championship Wrestling because you took us, the fans, on a ride from the beginning of the night all the way to the end. And I never got a chance to actually thank you for that. I know we've kind of talked real quick, but I never got a chance to say thank you because you had this tournament for the heavyweight championship, the survival championship wrestling. It was beautiful. And you guys told a story, and one Garrett Holiday went through absolute hell to become your first champion. I need your thoughts because you are very the higher brass of SCW. Why Garrett Holiday? How did this all become? The injury that he has came through was amazing. Please give me your thoughts on that whole situation.
Garrett is one tough kid. I've known Garrett. Well, I trained Garrett. Let's call it like it is. I taught Garrett from ground up in this business. Garrett has been busting his ass for 5 years, and everybody tends to overlook Garrett. And I've always believed in Garrett, and I've always told him that. Every time he'd get down on himself, I would tell him, like, you can't do that. I've been there. I've been to the bottom of the barrel. I've felt like I just wanted to leave the business. There's shit that goes on in the business and shit that people have said about me that would make most people run from it. And quite honestly, you know, even up until a couple months ago, I was thinking about getting out of the business. But here's the thing. I do that, and then these assholes that like to start their shit and run their face win. Okay? Right. They can start all the rumors that they want, but they got to know that when they put shit on Facebook, people take screenshots. People take screenshots and send them to me, which my lawyer loves. So we'll push that aside. So that person that ran their or her or his mouth on Facebook will be expecting action shortly. Because their accusations are completely and utterly false, untrue, and disgusting. But Garrett always, you know, when he get down on himself, I would always try to bring him back up, just like he would for me. When all that shit was going on, he would message me and be like, you know, is that really what you want to do? You know, it's like we've always gone back and forth. Garrett and I traveled the roads together. You know, I took him under my wing and brought him to shows. You know, we wrestled from Rhode Island to Pennsylvania, you know, Delaware to Western New York to really Western New York. And, you know, he was basically somebody, and like most of my students, I looked upon as like my kids because I was grooming them. And when I had this opportunity presented to me with Survival Championship Wrestling, I was like, well, there isn't nobody in this world that deserves that position more than Garrett Holiday. Mm-hmm. I've watched as people would tease him with opportunity. And it's nothing that, you know, is a vindictive thing. You know, maybe they just didn't see what I seen in Garrett. And then I was like, well, also, you know, my intentions within Your Face Wrestling, I still co-own it, so I can say the name. You know, my intentions were to put the secondary championship on Garrett back when we were still running, and that never came to fruition because it just, you know, up and folded one day because I wasn't dealing with bullshit no more. So he was the first person that I contacted when I knew that this Survival Championship Wrestling was coming to fruition. And I was like, well, my intention's to put, you know, to give you a big push. You know, my intentions were to put you in the championship tournament, in the championship match. And he couldn't have been more grateful. And, you know, I know he took a heck of a beating that night, but like Garrett Holiday always does, he persevered. And, you know, the quality of matches, or quality of the two matches that he had that night were tremendous. And he overcame the hurt ribs and everything, and was able to pin Bobby Ocean and win the finals of the four-way to become the first SCW heavyweight champion. And I couldn't have been more proud. I couldn't have been more proud to be in that ring while he did it.
That whole storyline that you gave us, the fans, I met so many new people, fans, and some of the men and women behind the scenes that were running SCW that evening, and some of the men and women that were wrestling as well. I met so many new people up there. It was such a fantastic time. But the story that you gave us, that roller coaster with Garrett Holiday and the injury, and it was a tournament throughout the whole evening, and the new fans that I had sitting next to me, we absolutely lost our ever-loving shit because there was no way that Garrett was winning that championship. We all were betting our money on Bobby Ocean. We really were. And it had nothing to do with the other competitors in the ring being, Slick Wagner Brown and yourself. You were all in this big four-way thing that kind of happened. But I will tell you one thing. Garrett Holiday winning totally blew our effing minds, and it was an amazing ride.
That was the intentions of it, is you gotta have that roller coaster ride, and you have to have the payoff in the end, because that reaction that he got, and I remember standing in the ring or outside the ring when that 3 count hit, the reaction was organic. It was real. It was as real can get in a business that's always looked down upon as not being real. That's real. That's the realest thing you can get in our business. It is an organic reaction. And from opening match to the final, heavyweight championship aside, the women busted their ass. The qualifying matches, everybody busted their ass. Jet Rebel, Conan Lycan, they all busted their ass. Jet Rebel's another kid that I used to use him at In Your Face Wrestling. And they were all disappointed when In Your Face Wrestling wasn't there no more. And now I get the opportunity to bring them back. And there's more coming. There's more that'll be debuting at SCW once this Corona shit goes away. I've talked to national stars that want to come in. I was talking to Colin Delaney about coming in. Who used to wrestle for WWE's ECW. And I've known Colin since I think Colin was like 14 or 15 years old. And I got plans for SCW. And no, Drake Evans will never be SCW heavyweight champion. That's I don't play that game. I'm not saying that I won't, be in some major storylines, but right now my focus for SCW is the company growing new stars. I wrestle for other places to better myself. SCW's for the newer, for the younger guys, the guys that I personally have faith in, knowing that, the company's in good hands.
I can see Garrett have a nice little run with that belt. Because I could, after that tournament and the injury, there's no way that he will not be a fighting champion. And I know you've had some bumps, and now we have this whole Corona thing with dates and venues and stuff for SCW. And I have been looking so forward to your second show. But I want to mention one more championship that you're actually introducing when all of this gets done and over with and we get back to real life. There's a collar and elbow championship. And my word, that thing is beautiful, man. Could you explain to me? I need to know, is it like a cruiserweight belt? What does this belt represent? Where are we at with this thing?
It's basically it's a secondary championship. I borrowed the name from the old NWA from back in the 1930s and 40s. Not the National Wrestling Alliance, but the National Wrestling Association.
Okay.
The original NWA. They had a collar and elbow champion back then in the 30s, 40s, and maybe 50s. And I'm like, I actually would have to go back to my days with In Your Face Wrestling, because we had a secondary title there called the New Breed Championship. And I hated the name. Like, I didn't want to do it. But at the time, I was co-owner, I had my partner, and then we had a booker. So for any of you out there who think that I strapped myself with the championship at In Your Face Wrestling, you're 100% wrong, because I was not the booker at the time. I was the one who took the title off of me and put it on Bobby Ocean. Now back to that. Let's go back to reality here. I lobbied for that title to be called the Collar and Elbow Championship. I had a design in mind and everything. If you look at the international truck logo, that's what the Collar and Elbow Championship logo, the championship medallion itself, is based off the upside down diamond.
Okay.
Or if that's what you want to call it. So basically, it's very similar to being a workhorse championship. It's the secondary title, much like the Intercontinental, or it's just a new name. You know, a lot of my guys are very mat oriented. A lot of the guys and girls, because girls are going to be competing for it too. There's no gender specifications to any of my championships. So girls can. Oh yeah. Girls can compete for the championships. Maybe later on down the road, when there's enough, there's always a lacking of female competitors. You know, right now I have definites on Christina Marie and Evie. I have another female coming in to work for us, Miss DeVille, which I've been familiar with Miss DeVille for years. She came from the same school that I came from, just years apart. But, you know, if we can grow it, then maybe a women's title down the line. But at this point, just, you know, there's no gender boundaries. I'm not huge. I'm not one of the ones that'll sit there and say, you know, I hate intergender wrestling. I'm not going to tell you that I love intergender wrestling. I'll do anything that the fans want. If the fans want to see it, they'll do it. I bash nothing or no one. You know, I give my heart into the writing, into the storytelling, and my people that I tell and direct to do it, they give their heart by going out and creating the masterpiece, creating the art of what business is. But, you know, the Collar and Elbow Championship looks to be something that a lot of people are looking at, because it's a beautiful belt. It's well designed, and it's people are curious, especially with the stipulation that I got to crown the first Collar and Elbow champion. I'm not one to do the same thing over and over again. I hate repetition. Like, it's something that's going to bore the shit out of me. I won't do it. Like I told you, I'm a school bus driver, but there's times where I have to switch up the way I go on my school bus run and go a different way, because it really it fucks with my head, because I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. So what do? Create a battle royal. The last 3 competitors in that battle royal go into a triple threat match. Why? It's different. Hasn't been done. It's different. They have a full-on match. Winner walks out Collar and Elbow champion. Still in play. That's definitely going to happen at the next show. I mean, I still got the April 25th show up there, but by the looks of things, I'm probably going to end up having to postpone that one too. This is a sucky thing that scares the shit out of me about all this is not the disease itself. It's the fact that I fucking put down deposits on these buildings, and I better not lose them. You know, that's the screwed up thing. And some of them get pretty pricey with deposits.
Right.
We will be back in Rensselaer. Like, I know we had the March 29th date, but they're understanding of it. They have a lot going on too, because probably about 3 weeks ago, the older gentleman that brought us into the building passed away. Yeah, so it's, but the lady that runs the bar, she's taking over for his responsibility. So she's renting the building to us, and she really wants us back. So God willing, hope May. You know, I'm hoping May.
That was a fantastic room, a crowd, and dude, the place was jamming over there. It was really fantastic setting. I mean, like, even when I was talking to some of the wrestlers after matches and stuff, and they were like, "Yeah, man, this is a pretty cool room, man. We had a good time at this one."
I had my doubts at first, especially when we first put the ring up and the ceiling was so low, and I was like, "Screw it, cut the post." We cut the post down and it was fine. Although there is a fucking wrestler out there who's trying to claim that we only drew 40 people that night. Oh,
what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the Debbie Downers that likes to run his fucking face because, I won't book him. But that's okay because he'll get his in the long run. When I see you again, I'll tell you who it is because, I don't want to give this person any kind of recognition.
That's fair. And to whoever said person, you could take 40 and multiply it easy by 3-4 times. I'm telling you, easily. I mean, we had a fantastic time. The crowd, when the bad guys came out, the heels, they gave them the shit. When the face and the good guys came out, they really rose them up. I mean, we were popping all effing night. It was fantastic.
The crowd was great. I can tell you right now, there was about 200, maybe 225 there. For a first show, that's not bad. Yeah. And especially in New York. And, it was hot all night. And I came up one time during intermission. Nobody seen me because, like I said, I tend to steer clear from I don't know. I just don't like, not really a socializing person like that. I come do my job and sometimes I pop out at intermission but I came up just to look around and see what was going on. And, I had, my father was there and was still trying to deal with him with my mom's death and stuff like that, and because he still at that point really wasn't taking it too well. And the night of that show was 2 days after what would have been their 50th anniversary.
Wow.
So he came there, he looked at me, he was like, it ain't the same without her. I'm like, yeah, but just sit down and pretend she's here. I mean, she is here. She was there. She made sure the night went on with no problem. And she always used to love going to the shows. She was one of the biggest hecklers. You and her probably would have got along. She was one of the biggest hecklers that you could find in the audience. When I was a heel, I used to fuck with her all the time. I'd come on, I'd be like, hey, you old lady, you want me to throw you in the ring and kick your ass? And she'd be like, come on, bring it on, and stuff like that. And yeah. She used to get into it, and she was an old school fan. She loved Tito Santana, but that was the only time I popped out that night. But I kind of blended. It's not for me. It's for everybody else. I'm not a glory hound. I love the wrestling business. I love training. I love most of my trainees, like my kids. Some of them ain't got that respect for me, but that's okay because whoever they are claiming trained them is nothing but a glorified yard tard. So I mean, and we'll get into that some other time. And we've spoke about this too. I'm a very opinionated person, but with the shit that I went through and the people what they fucking did to me and stuff like that, I've been silent long enough, and it's going to be a time in a day when Drake Evans and decides that it's time to talk, and I'm just kind of biding my time. I don't want to. I'm that type of person. I don't want to be looked down upon by my peers and stuff like that because I'm going off script and shitting on people. But there will be a time when I call it quits or when I'm close and I just say, fuck it, here's the true story. Here's what really happened. Here's why such and such left my company because I wouldn't put a championship belt on them, which is a shoot. That's part of the shoot. That's God's honest truth. Where I deemed that Bobby Ocean was more credible as a champion than he was, which is the truth. They're just not much more of a credible guy than Bobby Ocean, and that's just the way it is. But Bobby's one of my best friends in the business, in and out of the business. I would say, he's a true brother, and I've known him for years, and we've been in some battles together. And once you put us in one-on-one, you'll get a magic. You'll get a magical show that not many people will be able to hold the candle to.
I'll tell you, they call him hard-hitting Bobby Ocean. That's his moniker. And son of a bitch, you get a clothesline, you get a chop, you get a European uppercut, you get all sorts of... Dude, that guy, I don't know how people just don't keel over and just say, you know what, pin me, please.
Well, Drake Evans don't because he's Drake Evans.
Yeah, no. I would never say that about Drake Evans. I'm just saying. I mean, Bobby Ocean, he's a tough customer.
He is a tough guy, and him and I bring the best out in each other, whether it is beating the shit out of each other. Over the last few weeks, I've been posting old matches of mine, and they're on my Facebook page. And there's the one from 2010. Actually, I think they're both from 2010. Yeah, one where I'm wearing yellow tights. That's the one where we had to do it on the floor because the ring broke. And then a few months later, we did a one-on-one match in Saratoga for a number one contender spot. And it was basically 18 to 20 minutes of him and I just kicking the shit out of each other. Just... and it was a very well storytelling. Nobody on the show knew what the hell storytelling was until they seen that match. And then I'll go, Tito Santana came up to us after the match. The only thing he was confused about was why it was that we were both baby faces. And other than that, he's like, nah, that was a perfect match. Storytelling wise and all that. Me and Bobby have always brought the best out in each other. Shit, in 2012, him and I wrestled Fit Finley and Bobby Fish in a tag team match. And we survived.
That must have been some amazing footage. I'd love to see some of that action for sure.
I have the footage. I'll message it to you when we're done. Because I can't. If I put it online, my business partner will have it removed because he claims he owns the right. Because he's a piece of shit.
Well, I appreciate that, my man. That would be fantastic to look at some of that. I wanted to ask you about one specific person because the relationship you seem to have with this man is, you mentioned a brotherhood with Bobby in and out of the ring, but you and Slick Wagner Brown, there is something special between you two. I've never talked to you together. I've never seen you outside the ring. I mean, like in a different setting than wrestling. But you two, you look like you've got something very special. Could you talk about Slick and your relationship with him?
Well, Wagner, in a time when I was feeling really low, he let me come in and work I think it was a second Training Days event. And I actually booked Wagner in my last In Your Face show. I've known of Wagner and about Wagner for many years. Whether it was from Bobby Ocean, him and I have conversed before when I was running In Your Face Wrestling and he wanted to come in and work. And then we finally were able to bring him in. And, our relationship snowballed from there. I think the world of the man. Like he's such a great guy, and he's got one of the most infectious laughs I've never seen a guy really pissed off. Like when he gets mad, he'll get mad, and then all of a sudden he's laughing and joking around in the back, or whatnot. Which he's a tremendous guy, and when I was at a point in my life where wrestling, when I was going through the shit with my ex-business partner and stuff, he gave me that opportunity. That's why I look at Test of Strength as like a home company for me, a home fed for me. That's awesome. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it or not, but the Northampton shows, the Deuce, I brought that idea to Wagner. I worked a show there for fucking I really don't want to say the promotion's name because it's almost embarrassing after. But Rich, the promoter's name was Rich, and I wrestled one of my other students there, Liam McFerrin, and it was a dismal disaster. There was literally 3 people in the freaking crowd, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is such a nice fucking venue, and it deserves more respect than this. So when I was when we were at intermission, I went to the bathroom, came out, and the dude that was running the bar was standing out there. So I went up and started talking to him about how it would go about renting the place, which at that point in time I had a ring and stuff, but I wasn't looking for it for me. I was looking for it to help Test of Strength take that next step. Wow. And the one thing that I've always been good at is negotiations and stuff like that. And then I actually was, before my car accident that broke my neck the second time, while I was at a training day show, I helped set up the first Northampton show with Wagner. And I just wish that I could have been on that show because it would have meant more to me. But the fact that they did it, made me feel good, and then made me feel like I was back to being a part of something like I was with my company. It made me feel like I helped someone, because that's all I've ever been about when it came to wrestling, was helping people. I'll job to anybody. I don't give a shit. As long as it's helping somebody, as long as it's making my business that I fell in love with when I was 2 years old, as long as it's making that business look better. And, whether I was supposed to say that or not, but, that I got a business card. I brought it to Wagner. I'm like, here's an idea. The venue's not that bad. It's not that far away. And the rest is history.
That's some good times up at the Deuce. I'm glad that it's come into their existence. That's for sure.
Besides Bobby, there isn't a guy in this world that I wouldn't do anything for, other than Bobby and Wagner. They are my brothers. They may not be blood, but I have blood brothers that I can't stand. But those guys are my brothers. They are just as much blood to me as my brothers are, but more important.
Being in the business for a couple decades now, you said you started to spend about 20 years. Do you still keep your eye on the pulse? Do you still follow the product, being WWE, ROH, New Japan, TNA? I mean, do you still follow all of those products, or any of them? Do you see any of them at all?
I watch WWE still. I mean, last week was the first time I watched AEW, because every time that I tried to watch it, I was just like, man, if I wanted to see this, I'll just watch some indie shows, because it's basically what it looks like is independent, which, it's whatever. It's not the glitz and glamour that you see on WWE. Ring of Honor, I haven't watched in a long time. Sometimes I'll catch MLW, mostly just to catch Mark on it, and I when I think about it, I'll watch it. Other than that, WWE, Impact, I really lost interest in.
I figured it's kind of weird, because I figured I would get most of that from you. I was kind of assuming, I was playing a little chess there. I did not mention the newfound NWA. Have you watched that at all? And if you have, I think that would be more your wheelhouse. Yes, sir?
Yes. I've caught a few episodes of it, and thoroughly enjoyed it, because it's very old school. It's what I grew up watching. My grandfather was a huge NWA fan. I used to get tickets when the NWA would come to Troy at the RPI Fieldhouse. My grandfather was friends with the local promoter, so he would get us tickets. If I was old enough to start back in the 80s, I probably would have had a job by now, because my grandfather knew all those people. My grandfather was in the Navy with Freddie Blassie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Freddie used to have him go to his shows in California when he was on the West Coast. And my grandfather was stationed. So, yeah. But I missed the boat on the age thing. But the NWA is something I'm keeping a very close eye on. And it's something I will say that there has been communication.
Nice. Because you would fit their mold. I mean, totally. I mean, you're one of those guys.
I appreciate that. And that's the style that I love. Meat and potatoes. Meat and potatoes outbeats, 35 super kicks and 75 moonsaults. Because I can do a moonsault, but I'm 250 pounds. I don't belong doing a moonsault. I'll grab you in an arm or do something special with that. You know, I can do a super kick. Like next match, I'll throw 20 super kicks and see what happens there. You know, might pull a groin, but you know that's just how it is.
Oh man. Is there any advice, because you have said you actively still train? Is that correct? Or train students? I'm sorry, train students.
I have not trained. The last time I did any kind of training was I went down to Tessa Strength last year and blew up their students. They all love me for that. I'm being very sarcastic on that one. You can ask Ryan with the 5x. Just mention the 5x5 and he'll or even El Jabroni. Ask him about the 5x5. Well, no, he's gone now, isn't he? You can't even freaking ask him. That son of a bitch.
Thanks.
Ask Frost. Just say 5x5. But I ran a wrestling school successfully from 2007 to 2016. I'd tell you who I trained, but most of them don't deserve recognition. But Garrett, like I said, Garrett Holiday and Liam McFerrin. Charles, the referee, Tino Constantino, the little referee guy that I had at the SCW show. He's one of my guys. Philip Basquet, he's another one of the guys I trained. Elite Terrell, I trained him. And I guess I'll take credit for training Angel Cross. I mean, but you know, there's more. But like I said, they don't deserve it.
That's okay. I like me some of the streets. The streets are cool, man.
Elite's a good kid.
He
had a lot of promise. A lot of promise.
So the reason why I bring that up is because you have so much knowledge. You speak very confidently with your knowledge and your words. And you've been through so much over the course of a couple decades now. Is there some advice that you would like to throw out there to the upcoming students, the upcoming new superstars that are on the rise of independent wrestling? What would be your first, like your main sound advice to throw at those guys and girls?
Keep your mouth shut, your ears open. Learn respect. Respect is first. Respect your craft. Respect your trainer. Respect the ring. Respect the business. Don't open your mouth and try to correct people when you don't belong opening your mouth. Sit there and you take the shit because we all had to do it. Learn it, love it, live it. Make those sacrifices. Get to the gym. Get to training. Don't stop training, then go back, then stop, then go back. Don't be wishy-washy about it. If you really want this business, you'll take this business. You really want to be a success in this business, there isn't anything in this world that will ever stop you from doing what you want to do except for you. You're the leader of your own life. You're the leader of your own reality. You're the leader of your own dreams. The minute you stop dreaming, the minute you stop learning, the minute you stop going, just stay away. Our business is a brotherhood. It's a sisterhood. Don't make lies. Don't cheat. Don't do anything that you feel is stupid, because it probably is.
Well, I gotta say that was some pretty all around. The whole package was very, very, very sound advice, I must say, sir.
I mean, it's just through the experience. Like I said, I've had people lie and say shit about me that ain't true, and I will go to my grave on it. I'll put it on my mother's soul and stuff like that. You know, it's just wrong and obnoxious. And you know, I started calling people out on it on Facebook, and then I kind of just was like, you know, this ain't even fucking worth it, because it was one fucking booking, and that promoter needs to be smacked in the fucking head for not even coming to me. And, you know, it's funny because I seen him a couple shows ago, and he shook my hand. Yeah, it is what it is. And, you know what he fucked up on? He fucked up on having a quality wrestler on his show. That's what he fucked up on by listening to hearsay of shit that never even fucking happened. Never crossed my mind. Never would cross my mind because, someone won't touch that pig with a 10-foot pole.
I'm kind of glad I don't know what all of that's about. You seem to have a lot more to say than the time constraints are allowing here.
Like I said, but when I'm ready to sit down and expose it all, Don, you're the first person I'm coming to.
Yes, please, because that would probably be some hot takes from beginning to end, I would imagine.
Yeah, we'd need a couple hours.
Yeah, hey, I'm your guy. I'm there. And you know what? I wouldn't even have to say shit. You know what? I'll bring my stuff. You start rolling, and I'll just kick back and see what Mr. Drake has got going on.
Sounds like a plan to me. I think these people need to be worried.
Well, Mr. Drake Evans, I cannot, and I mean this for me personally, because of I don't really see you do interviews or podcasts or any of that kind of offbeat stuff because, like you said, you kind of keep to yourself. You do your thing. You make sure you're a professional in the ring. You do your A-game stuff every time you step in there, and I've always appreciated that about you. But I knew you were kind of a veteran in the game, but the information and the way you've spoken, it's been an absolute honor and privilege to have you on my fucking show, man.
I appreciate you having me, man. Like I do these from time to time. I did one for the West Coast just before my surgery in 2018. I actually had a guy from Puerto Rico hit me up that wanted me to do one in Puerto Rico. But I enjoy being able to tell my story, and like there's more to it. We didn't get into my match with Jeff Jarrett and stuff like that, but it happened. It happened. And I won. Sorry.
Oh man. Well, we definitely have to get a follow-up later on down the road with one Drake Evans. Is there a moniker attached to Drake Evans? Am I missing something?
There used to be, but I can't use it no more.
Oh, okay.
It used to be the Enigma, Drake Evans.
Oh,
but I dropped. Yeah. But I dropped it when my tag team partner died.
He's the new guy with the face and SCW.
Yeah, that kid. He bought the gimmick off me.
Wow, I'm kind of surprised.
I know one person who knows his true identity though.
Jabroni?
No, Jabroni doesn't even know. This person knows. This person knows right here, but he will not tell me who the hell he is.
Hey, what's up, baby? Hey, come to the camera a little bit and whisper it right into the camera. Give us the name. No. Come on!
He will not give it to me. I have put him in the Evans lock and everything, and he still just would not tell me.
Well, I thought I was going to get a little bit of dirt before we ended this excellent.
That's why when the follow-up, we'll both double team him.
Yes. Well, Mr. Drake Evans, it was an honor. It was a privilege, and I'm glad. I am so glad to see you and your family are doing okay through this whole COVID crisis. I just wanted
glad you're doing good. I'm glad you're doing good too, Don. I mean, It was my pleasure being here. I had a blast, walking through memories. If you keep an eye on my Facebook page, I'm walking through memories almost every day by posting matches from my past. I'm working on digitizing some more of my video VHS tapes, which I know I'm dating myself, but that's where a majority of my matches are. I appreciate you having me. Keep an eye on my Facebook page. Ain't hard to find on Facebook. Drake Evans, you're friends with me on Facebook. There's going to be a ton of footage on there that, a lot of them were with my students. Some of them were with other wrestlers. And I feel like they're all quality matches.
That's awesome. I've been watching as the face page, Drake Evans' face page has been putting them out. I've been checking them out. It's been some fun stuff. I gotta appreciate you sharing your past with us, man. It's been really cool.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, man. This was Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid. And I'm telling you, this guy needs a special, special, special guest. One, Drake Evans. I can't thank you enough. It's been an absolute pleasure. And man, you have yourself a great evening, my friend.
You too, Don. Take it easy, man. Talk to you soon.